This world has certainly had its share of superstars. The famous actors and actresses, the great athletes, the TV personalities and rock stars, so-called beautiful people of this world. Yet there's someone who's been hailed as a superstar who doesn't seem to fit the bill, despite the fact that a Broadway play was named in his honor. He is the most unlikely superstar. The Walk of Fame. This is the place to be if you're a star. It's the pinnacle of success, the proof of real achievement. If you made it here, you're somebody. You know, there are more than 2,000 names here. I'm sure a lot of them are Jewish, given the Jewish influence on Hollywood. They represent some of the best-known celebrities from motion picture and television, live performance and recording. From Louis Armstrong and the A's to Ephraim Zimbalist and the Z's, this is a who's who list of celebrities. Some of the folks here are best known to historians or insiders like Adolf Zucker, who was a Jewish film mogul, along with Jesse Lasky, another Jew he founded Paramount Pictures. Or there is Harry Cohn, who founded Columbia Pictures, or Louis B. Mayer, Marcus Lowe and Sidney Goldfish of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer fame. Now, their names are not as well known, but most of the folks here, most of these names are known to countless millions, and among the stars here are the superstars. So, what makes someone a star?
First question. Can you name some of the Walk of Fame stars?
Bruce Lee, Michael Jackson.
Let's see.
Muhammad Ali is on the side.
Matt Damon.
Bruce Willis.
You have all the greats. I mean, everyone from Ed Sullivan to Billy Graham has like 2 or 3. Madonna, Prince, Janet, Andrew's sisters.
Yeah, you got Halle Berry, Jamie Foxx, Muhammad Ali, James Brown, Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson,
Marilyn Monroe, Fred Astaire, Bob Hope, Jay Leno, Victor Mature, Diana Ross, Alfred Hitchcock.
So what makes someone a star? What qualifies you to be one of the beautiful people? What does it take for the paparazzi to follow you everywhere and snap pictures of your every move? Well, if you're an actor and actress, unless you're known for your odd looks, like a Marty Feldman kind of character with bulging eyes, or someone who always plays a villain or a monster, you probably need good looks. After all, how can you be one of the beautiful people if you're ugly? And would the magazines have your face on the front covers adorning them if you're homely? And the kids have full-size posters of you on their walls if you were totally plain looking? And then it's really good if you can have something exceptional in your appearance, like the jutting jaw of a Kirk Douglas, or the famous blue eyes of a Paul Newman, or the perfectly curved lips of an Angelina Jolie. Of course, these days, if you don't have the features you want, a plastic surgeon can certainly help you out. And then it helps to have kind of a catchy sounding name, or at least something that's not too hard to pronounce or too ethnic, unless you're a Jackie Chan or a Bruce Lee, and that's just part of your character. Think of it. Tom Cruise is a lot more hip than Thomas Cruise Maypother IV. And Fred Astaire works a lot better than Frederick Austerlitz. And Doris Day is a whole lot easier to handle than Doris von Kappelhoff. Now that I think of it, it's sometimes fun to find out the original names of these stars, like Charles Buczynski, better known as Charles Bronson, or Isur Danielevich, better known as the aforementioned Kirk Douglas. Did I mention he was Jewish too? And then, of course, there's Archibald Leach, better known as Cary Grant. You had to be a star. You need the looks, the name, the whole package, and more.
Tell us what you think. What makes someone a star?
Hard work, effort, definitely. You know what I mean? Like, you got to give it your all. I mean, connections also. It doesn't matter how great you are. Sometimes it depends on just getting yourself out there. You know what I mean? You can't stand behind the curtain. You got to be out there.
You know, they need talent, but I mean, the real thing will be, after that, will be charisma and personality and looks.
I would say charisma and discipline. charisma, discipline, and being personable.
Probably most of all their popularity, the number of movies and things they've been in, and then I think it's about who they know as opposed to what they know.
What else makes someone a star? Well, you need to have some kind of special ability, like the ability to act, or ability to make people laugh, or sing, or play an instrument well, or dance. Even the ability to be believed, that's part of the star equation. I mean, think of the power of acting. You're watching some classic film, you're spellbound, you're on the edge of your seat, and it's all make-believe. That's powerful. Think of how many millions of viewers have been captivated, moved, and stirred watching Judy Garland in something like The Wizard of Oz. Or think of someone like Lucille Ball. She could make you laugh. In the old days of black and white TV, whole families would gather together and laugh out loud at her antics and expressions. Remember the time she tried to make a U-turn in a tunnel in New York City? Then there was a master comedian like Johnny Carson. Watching his late night show became a ritual for many. Or think of the power of the voice of a Pavarotti. I mean, crowds would flock just to hear him sing, or the smooth moves of a Gene Kelly who could dance far better than he can act. Or think of the cult-like adoration for someone like Eric Clapton just because he plays the guitar so well. Even the ability to be believed like they believed a newscaster like Walter Cronkite. It's all part of being a star. And then there are the athletes. Watch Michael Jordan soar in the air and slam dunk. Watch Muhammad Ali float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Watch Martina Navratilova crush her opponents on the tennis courts. That's what made them stars.
Up next.
What kind of effect do you think the big stars have on our culture? What kind of influence they have?
I don't know if I'd say it's so much the stars, but just like the media in general.
So what makes someone a star? What causes them to stand out? We've talked about good looks and special qualities like acting, singing, being funny, dancing, playing an instrument well. That's part of it. And then there's often a lot of hard work, often years of discipline and training put in behind the scenes. But you know, there's something more than that also. I'll tell you what, stars like stardom. They like being famous. They enjoy being recognized, and plus it makes them pretty good money too. And that's why some of them have publicity agents. In fact, it's common you do that. These people help you get on TV shows and magazine covers, and these publicists will tell you, change your hairdo, change your wardrobe. This way you'll fit in with the latest trends. These agents help the stars stay stars. But you know, not even the best PR person in the world can make a star into a superstar. To be a superstar, you've got to have something over and above. You've got to have something out of the ordinary. In the world of sports, how many Tiger Woods are there? I mean, he's just one guy. He's a superstar. In the world of Hollywood, someone like Elizabeth Taylor, she's a living legend. And that's why it's so odd for someone to be called a star, let alone a superstar, who was an ancient religious leader, a humble carpenter, a man who shunned the spotlight. And yet in the early 1970s, there was a Broadway play, there was a Hollywood movie, there was a rock album, all by the name of Jesus Christ Superstar. The words of a famous sportscaster. Are you kidding me?
So, who do you consider to be a superstar?
Well, Marilyn Monroe is the biggest star that springs to mind because she was a big star when she was alive, and then when she died, she's kind of got even bigger.
I love Donald Trump. He made it, you know, he's determined, he's motivated to do everything. He keeps moving, he puts all his eggs in different baskets to succeed.
I'd consider people like Barbara Streisand and Bette Midler. I mean, they were clever then because it wasn't so computerised, and they can sing and act, and I thought they were good. And Katharine Hepburn was one of my favourites, so yeah.
Well, most of the real superstars are gone, you know, like say Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis, those like that.
A superstar. Prince is a superstar. Tina Turner is a superstar.
Before I get back to this question about Jesus Christ being a superstar, let's look at some of the original names of some of the famous stars. It actually has some relevance to this whole Jesus question, so stay with me, all right? Consider the name William Henry Pratt. Nothing spooky about it at all. Well, that was the original name of Boris Karloff, one of the leading movie villains of all time. Karloff's Frankenstein remains unsurpassed. Or how about Cheryl Stoppelmore? Not exactly the name for a glamour queen. That was the real name of Cheryl Ladd. Changing your names makes quite a difference. And then there's the changing of an ethnic name to something of a wider appeal. So Larry King works a whole lot better than Larry Ziegler, and Steve Lawrence is a lot more generic than Sidney Leibowitz, and Jerry Lewis reaches a whole lot more people than Joseph Lefitch. Really, just close your eyes and think of the names. Jerry Lewis brings a smile to your face and makes you think of telethons. Who's Joseph Lefitch? Does he even speak English? Or how about this? Chuck Norris was originally Carlos Ray, and Bruce Willis, his original name was Walter Willison. And then Winona Ryder, she was originally Winona Laura Horowitz. And changing your names makes quite a difference. Well, you said, what's this got to do with Jesus Christ? Jesus Christ was originally Yeshua the Messiah. In fact, he was Yeshua of Nazareth, a rabbi, the son of Miriam. Changing names makes a massive difference in our perspective. Jesus, Yeshua, humble carpenter from a small town in northern Israel, the most unlikely superstar.
Dr. Brown walked Hollywood Boulevard talking to people about being a star.
So who are some of your favorite stars, and any, be it acting or music, whatever, some of your favorites?
Toni Braxton, Jagged Edge, Miss Gay, Beyonce, of course.
And anything could be music, could be sports, could be
I like
acting.
Will Smith, Adam Sandler.
I think Wayne Gretzky.
Who comes to mind for you?
I'd say Matt Ombre from RX Bandits, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison.
I saw Hendrix first time when I was 13.
Oh yeah?
Saw him a couple times. Saw Jim Morrison and the Doors. What, in your mind, what makes somebody a star?
It all has to do with their personality and how they carry themselves.
I think it's the ability to excel in your area of expertise.
Yeah, that's it.
Great actors, great performers, great athletes, great business people. They're all stars.
So they're like a step above on some level, and then there's something that draws you to them.
Yeah.
What kind of effect do you think the big stars have on our culture? What kind of influence they have?
I don't know if I'd say it's so much the stars, but just like the media in general.
Yeah.
I mean, like, stars could have some sort of positive or negative influence depending on how you look at it, but people are buying just what they're showing.
Do you think they have a powerful influence?
A lot.
Definitely. Unfortunately, a lot of it's negative, I think.
So, I mean, give me an example of kind of negative
irresponsibility and party atmosphere, and you're not having to really care or worry about the consequence of your actions is the unfortunate part that I see.
So name me like a Hollywood actor or actress that strikes you as a really positive role model.
Not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the roles out there all tend to deal with violence, action, sexuality, and that just, it's hard to say. I mean, there's a lot of people with good social sides, but yeah.
Still to come.
I think that's a kind of loaded question, because if you just go, yeah, Jesus Christ is a superstar, then there's a lot of people might be offended by it because it puts them in a bracket with, Journey.
We've been talking about the beautiful people, the famous Hollywood stars whose names adorn the Walk of Fame. And how many of them have been world changers? How many of them will be remembered for generations, let alone for centuries? And how is it that a crucified Jewish carpenter who lived 2,000 years ago outshines them all, has become the most influential figure in world history without the help of Hollywood? Yeah, I'm talking about Jesus, Yeshua, who oddly enough was the subject of a rock album, a Broadway play, and a Hollywood movie in the early 1970s called Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeshua is quite the unlikely superstar. Did he have good looks? According to the Hebrew prophet Isaiah, who wrote this hundreds of years before Jesus was even born, he had no form or beauty that we should look at him, no charm that we should find him pleasing. In other words, the crowds didn't follow him because he looked like some airbrushed Hollywood actor. Did he have a good publicity agent? You know, one time, his brothers urged him to venture out of their small hometown and put his miracles on display in Jerusalem. They said to him, no one who wants to be a public figure acts in private. If you're doing these things, show them to the world. Or another translation puts it like this: if you want to be famous, you can't hide. If you can do such wonderful things, show them to the world. But Jesus just said, my time has not yet come. Plus, the world hates me. Maybe he understood something that very few of us understand. So, one last question. In the early 70s, there was a Broadway play, a Hollywood movie, and a rock album called Jesus Christ Superstar. Mm-hmm. Does that sound like a strange mixing of words to call Jesus Christ a superstar?
Jesus is, you know, what people make him out to be. It all depends on people's beliefs, whether they're into it or if they're not. Because if they're not, then they're going to be like, no, those contradict each other. You know, a superstar is someone who's famous. Well, I mean, Jesus is famous too.
You know, he is.
Yeah,
he makes everything basically, you know, happen. So
how does that strike you, Jesus Christ Superstar?
It's funny in a way because he really tried to be an ordinary man, and he wanted to live an ordinary life as much as possible, but he really couldn't because we all know what he was here for.
I mean, do you think the influence he's had on world history is going to outshine a lot of these Hollywood stars when we look back?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I would hope so.
Definitely.
Listen to the words of a famous little piece called One Solitary Life. Here's a man who was born in an obscure village, the child of a peasant woman. He grew up in another village. He worked in a carpenter shop until he was 30. Then for 3 years, he was an itinerant preacher. He never owned a home. He never wrote a book. He never had a family. He never went to college. He never put his foot inside a big city. He never traveled 200 miles from the place he was born. He never did one of the things that usually accompany greatness. He had no credentials but himself. While still a young man, the tide of popular opinion turned against him. His friends ran away. One of them denied him. He was turned over to his enemies. He went through the mockery of a trial. He was nailed upon a cross between two thieves. While he was dying, his executioners gambled for the only piece of property he had on earth, his coat. When he was dead, he was laid in a borrowed grave through the pity of a friend. 19 long centuries have come and gone, and today he is the centerpiece of the human race and leader of the column of progress. I'm far within the mark when I say that all the armies that ever marched, all the navies that were ever built, all the parliaments that ever sat, and all the kings that ever reigned put together have not affected the life of man upon this earth as powerfully as has that one solitary life. Jesus Christ, superstar. If ever the word superstar fell short, it's in describing this man, Jesus, Yeshua. Who was he?
What do you think? Is Jesus Christ a superstar?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Christian, but yeah, he has a star over on Wilshire Boulevard in front of the church. Yeah. So.
He is the ultimate superstar. There is none after him.
I think that's a kind of loaded question, because if you just go, yeah, Jesus Christ is a superstar, then there's a lot of people might be offended by it because it puts him in a bracket with, Journey, or, depending on your taste, are kind of just, sort of AOR kind of limp rockers. But I guess as far as his influence goes, yeah, he's got a sort of he's got a star appeal, I guess. I mean, he had a charisma and he had a look from what we know. So, yeah, I guess so. No offense.
All day long. Jesus Christ, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
We've all heard the expression, all that glitters is not gold. If you ever needed proof of that, just look at Hollywood. Now look, I'm not demeaning all the famous stars as if they had no talent and no influence, and I'm sure there were some fine people among them. if you stop and think about it, the influence that most of them have had has been skin deep or worse still, pretty rotten. I mean, how many of them have been role models? How many have left a legacy that makes sense in the light of eternity? How many have really changed people in a lasting, positive way? Those are the kind of questions that need to be asked. The bright lights, the big screens, they can be very, very deceiving. It takes someone transcendent to know what really matters. And that's why the world is still enthralled 20 centuries later with the carpenter from Nazareth. And to this day, people joyfully give their all to him. Let me say it again. He knows what really matters. Look, he came down from a heavenly kingdom. Nothing on the earth could impress him. Angels used to bow down at his feet and worship him. Human praise couldn't move him in the least, and he understood that the way up was down. So he came to serve, to be served, to die for our sins, not to be hailed by the crowds. Now he has the highest name in the universe, and everyone who calls out to him, Jew and Gentile alike, will be forgiven and transformed. Jesus Christ, superstar? How about Yeshua the Messiah, King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? Now that's more like it.